Hey, what up y'all? Nurse David here, coming at you from the den, and today we're going to be talking about something that some may consider to be a little taboo, and I think that's really more of an older generation type of thing. But I want to talk about money starting off in nursing informatics. Now, this is something that I get sent messages on frequently, just because the pay range that you see online for nursing informatics is really varies. It's a pretty long stretch, and having gone through about 6 interviews with different hospitals and companies, I've been told what their starting wages are, and I'm going to share with you what I get paid as a nursing informaticist. But before we get into the video, if you could go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already, it really helps me out. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Now, like I said, this topic is a little taboo depending on your generation, and I feel like that's really accurate because older generations, they do not dare speak about money, they do not compare money, although I feel like there needs to be more awareness of it, especially going into jobs. We should know what to expect. And we have a general idea, but I'm here to give you exactly the numbers that I was told through my whole process of finding a job in this field. Now, like any other job, nursing informatics has a spectrum of pay, and depending on your experience depends on where you fall in this spectrum of what you'll be starting off as. Now, nursing informatics, it requires you to be a nurse. That's why they call it nursing informatics. If you're trying to get into this field without being an RN or having your BSN and having that bedside knowledge, then nursing informatics may not be for you. You may want to look into a degree which I found was just health informatics minus the nursing, but that's a whole different route. But for this video's sake and to keep it easy, let's just say that we're talking about nursing informatics and you're going into the field with only bedside experience or working in the OR, any type of patient care experience. You're not coming into this with an actual job history of nursing informatics. You're coming in this bare, just like I was. I was a nursing assistant for 3 years, I was a nurse for 6 years, and I did some super user work along the way with my informatics team, but I am coming into this field with really no background in it. But on this spectrum, I'm coming in with my bedside experience, but I don't have informatics experience. So I'm going to be starting a little bit on the lower end of this. Now, luckily, I was not at the bedside too long where my pay was ridiculously high, where I would be coming into this informatics field expecting more than that, which would lead to real unrealistic expectations. So I think that's an important thing to understand, is if you were a bedside nurse and you're used to hopping around to hospitals and getting your pay up, and you're used to doing travel nursing and getting those large bonuses, you might be a little bit disappointed coming from that into this, just because you've gone from bedside and expedited your pay so quickly that although you have all that experience as a bedside nurse, you're still starting brand new in this field. Yes, it is all in healthcare, but you're brand new in this field. So you're not going to start at the higher end of what nursing informaticists get paid. You're going to start somewhere in the bottom half of what they get paid. Now, from this being the lowest to this being the median, you could start a little bit more than low towards the middle, but you wouldn't really start in the high section. Now, I'm explaining it the way my director explained it to me, just because I feel like that made a lot of sense, and hopefully that did make some sense. You can't come into this field expecting the highest wage when you have no experience in the field. You may have bedside experience, but that doesn't count as informatics experience. Now, let's talk about numbers. Now, in my interviewing process and speaking to different hospitals / companies, I was given various numbers. I was given exactly 3 different numbers, which vary kind of greatly, but I feel like it has to do with this scale that we're talking about. Now, the first job I applied to was a little bit above me. It was a nursing informatics manager, which is definitely not an entry-level position, but they saw my master's in informatics and they decided to interview me for this. So before this interviewing process, actually, I spoke to the HR coordinator who let me know that the starting pay for this job ranged from $100,000 a year to $105,000 a year. Now, obviously, I was super excited about that, but once I got into the interview, I could tell that this was more of a higher level position that I had applied for. At this time, I was applying to anything and everything, but it was much more above me, and obviously I did not get that job. And to continue to put it into perspective, referring to the scale that we're on, I believe that $100,000 for an entry position level that's a bit higher up could fall a bit above the median of what you could expect salary-wise from this job position. Now, the next number I was given by a different company because they told me that I undervalued myself, and they actually told me that this was a little bit of a setback for them when I put in my application, because if they were to give me what I had asked for, they would be severely underpaying me, which is crazy to think about, that what I put on the application really interfered with me getting this position. But my one tip for this, when you're applying for nursing informatics in the field of what you're wanting for compensation, I would type out the word negotiable, and that's it. Because if you set a number and maybe that number is lower than what they were willing to give you, that already is setting you back in your pay. You don't want to give yourself away so easily, I've learned finally, and I would highly recommend that you just type in the word negotiable. And this is something that I learned through trial and error, but I wish I would have done during this whole process. But the number that they told me that I would be getting paid would be $96,000. And again, this was an informatics job. Now, this one was remote, a Monday through Friday, and this was somewhat of an entry-level position, but at the same time, they wanted someone with experience. Now, I had begun by asking them for $85,000, and you can see the difference here. That's $11,000. So they start their entry people at 96. If they were to start me at what I was asking for, I would have been severely underpaid. And the whole thing is still crazy to me that this was such a dilemma, but it was. In the end, I did not end up getting this job. They did call me back and let me know that they went with someone with a little bit more experience, which leads me to think that if they had more experience, they would be getting paid more than $96,000 a year, because they had told me that the entry level pay that they would be offering would be $96,000. So you can add that onto the spectrum. Now, the last number I received was $80,000 a year, and this would have to be my lowest point on the spectrum, with $100,000 being in the middle. And I don't know exactly how high this could go, but it seems like it could continue to grow up with your experience depending on where you work. But yeah, the lowest that I would see you getting into this position with an informatics degree with nursing background but no informatics background would be $80,000. Now, I told you, some of you might be disappointed because those nurses who have really expedited their pay and now are coming into an entry-level position might be set back just a bit, especially those nurses who are travel nurses, who are getting those large bonuses, who are getting the night shift differential and the holiday differential. In nursing informatics, in a salaried position, you do not work on holidays because they do not want to pay you holiday pay or differential. You do not work night shifts, so you don't get that differential. At least in the companies that I have interviewed and spoken to, there are no opportunities to work overtime because you're in a salary position. If you do, you are not compensated for that. You are salaried. So your pay is what it is, and there's no opportunity for you to go and work extra hours and get extra money like there is at bedside nursing. But at the same time, I feel like you really need to evaluate what it is that you want. What do you want out of this job? Are you coming into this field because you're burnt out out, then maybe a little bit of a decrease in pay from your high wage travel nursing position is not so bad for relief on your mental health. So I really see that there are the pros and cons to this, but you got to think that you're starting off in this field with no experience in actual informatics, so you're gonna start over here on the lower spectrum. Now, I said I would be sharing what I get paid, and finally I did secure a job. I was so excited, and it really has been good, especially for my mental health. I'm not able to get all those differentials, but honestly, I don't care because I feel so much better. I have so much more energy, I have so much more time in my day, and I'm just not exhausted anymore. But now what I get paid is still more than what I was getting paid as a bedside nurse, and it might not have been if I had skipped around to hospitals, if I had done those extra things that we spoke about. But since I had been at my same hospital, my same facility for 6 years, my pay now that I got offered in informatics is more than what I was getting paid as a nurse. And with this being the lower side of that spectrum, I would have to be about right here, not at the very end, not in the middle exactly, but definitely room to grow. There is so many opportunities in this field, it's crazy. I hope that the transparency on this really helps some of you, because I feel like when I was looking into the field, the numbers were really just all over the place, and I had no justification for why they were offering so high versus so little. And when my director explained this to me, it made all the worlds of difference of how I saw it and how I really understood this information. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. If you want to know more about nursing informatics, go ahead and leave that in the comments down below as well. But I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.